I'll be honest with you, making money can be very easy. There's so many opportunities for you to make $1 here and $1 there. But we don't just want to make $1 here or $1 there, do we? We want to make enough dollars to sustain and to profit. But how do you do that while you study? Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you guys how I made $25,000 in profit while studying during my teens. And this was $25,000 worth of pure profit after my general expenses and costs of all my income streams. The reason why I'm calculating everything in dollars is because dollars is more universally known. But if you want to know the equivalent in GBP, it was around £23,000. But before I get into the main chunk of the video, I just want to give you guys some context of how I was like as a teenager. I was all over the place. I knew that I wanted to make money through all my ventures and avenues, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So because of that, I did everything. And in this video, I'm just gonna go over the main sources of incomes that I was able to generate during my teenage years. Just a disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I am just retelling what I did during my teens to generate $25,000 worth of profit. So let's get into it. So for number one, what I did was get a part-time job. Now I know so many of you will scoff at the idea of getting a part-time job, but for me personally, I was very grateful at the opportunity to exchange my time for any sort of money. This is because I knew I was inexperienced. I didn't have much experience or value to give to any business. So for any business to take me on as someone fresh and young, I knew that it was an opportunity for me not to only make money, but to learn from the business itself and the experiences I gained from working in that business. And what do I mean by that? I worked 2 jobs part-time. I worked in hospitality and I worked in retail. And as you know, both industries are ruthless. The customers don't treat you like human, and most of the time they are very rude. And because of that, you sort of have to learn how to control your emotions. You have to learn how to diffuse situations, but at the same time, you need to be able to turn a situation around in which the customer will leave with a positive perception of what they just, whatever they just did. And it is a hard skill to learn, but because I was able to learn that when I was younger, I was able to build my negotiation skills much more quickly as I grew older. And because of that, I was able to benefit way more in many future situations because I learned how to deal with difficult people. Now, aside from the skills that I learned, as a teenager, I didn't get much money. I barely got pocket money. I got birthday money and gift money, but those were irregular. So as a teenager, I had very little capital to start anything. And to get capital, I needed a consistent inflow of money, which I can save to fund my ventures. And that's why I started off having a part-time job. It taught me skills, it gave me money, and it built discipline and grit within me. So that's why I started off having a part-time job. So for number 2, what I did was I tutored. Now I know some of you might think tutoring counts as a part-time job, but I kept it separate because I was my own boss. I found my own clients, I set my own rates, and I planned how I wanted to run this one-man tutoring business show. I charged each client £25 per hour. It was good money. And the reason why I chose to do tutoring is because I reflected upon myself. What was I good at? And what can I do to help others? And I realized I was great at maths, I was good at teaching. Naturally, it just drove myself to tutoring. My clients were basically people within my own network. Now, it's quite hard to actually source your own clients because you have no background experience. No one knows whether you're good at teaching or not. You don't have any credentials. But for me, my credentials were I got really high grades, I was top of my class, and they took that as a good sign. So they brought me on to teach their kids and I showed results. In other words, their kids' grades improved, and because of that, it gave them a positive outlook on what I did. So they recommended me to other parents, and therefore I built a client base. Number 3, I sold products online. Now, I didn't do Shopify, I didn't do Etsy, that's very new. I just stuck to plain old eBay, which was primarily fueled by the income I made via my part-time job and my tutoring role. And actually, a large chunk of my profit actually came from eBay. I think the niche of my store was that it sold anything and everything. I sold old clothes, old toys, new toys, limited edition items, and just generic items that I deemed valuable. In other words, if I could make some sort of profit from an item, then I would list it on my eBay. Actually, I didn't make profits from all my sales. For example, some of my old textbooks, I would just offload them and just ask the buyer to pay the shipping fee and the charges, and that way I could get rid of the stock of textbooks that I didn't need and give it to someone that needed it. So that is just an exception of when I didn't make profit. In all my eBay listings, I just applied simple laws of economics. When there is a vast supply of a specific item, I know that I am not the price maker. And because of that, I will have to set my price within a range that is already been set by the eBay marketplace. If I am a unique seller, then I know that I can price make. I can decide whatever price I want that can realistically get the item sold. The best scenario is when I'm selling a high demand item that is in low supply, and this is usually high-end fashion items such as Yeezys or Supreme items. I had a sort of abstract formula when setting my prices on eBay to ensure that they sold. First of all, I would take in consideration their condition. Is the item used? Is it new? Is it damaged? And in most cases, damaged items were discarded. I will then do market research, looking at other listings of the same item in similar conditions. And through that, I will set my price lower than the highest price, but higher than the median price, which will help my item sell. However, if I was a unique seller of a particular item, that makes me the price maker on eBay. And when that situation comes along, I will set the price a bit higher than the RRP, usually around 20%. Now, I know you might think that I could only make a big buck by selling high-end limited edition items such as Yeezys or Supreme hoodies or hats or whatever. But I didn't do that. What I sold was generic items that you could buy online at any store, and there wasn't so much demand for it. And you might think, how could I make profit from buying generic items off stores that sold them openly? Now, I'll let you guys in with the secret that I learned very early on. We live in a fast fashion world. Styles that exist spring 2022 may not exist by the time we hit fall 2022. What does this mean? Well, by the time fall comes along, let's say a specific hoodie that was popular in the spring will not be sold in the autumn. And as time goes on, the supply of these hoodies in new condition are depleted. And just because production of a style stops by a company does not mean that the demand for that item goes away. The demand is still there. And when people start realizing that this specific hoodie is being worn more, but is actually becoming more rare to find online new, that is where your market is. And that is where my market was. I was selling brand new items that was readily available a few months before, but selling them later on because I was betting on the fact that this item will become popular as time went on and supply depleted. Just for reference, on average, I made 30% profit per hoodie that I sold. So I know that I just made eBay selling sound very easy. And at its core, it is. All you have to do is make an account, put in your credit details, and list an item. That does not necessarily mean that it will sell. And you will learn that quickly as you go on selling more on eBay. You'll pick up the small nuances that helps sell an item. So you have to take very nice looking photos of your items, and this becomes particularly tricky when it's used or damaged items. You have to know how to bring out a characteristic that will make the item sell. Secondly, you have to be professional. I made sure that I was professional to whoever I was trying to sell to. The greatest thing about eBay is the fact that I could spend a day listing a whole bunch of items and leave it there. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, then it needs some sort of revision. But the thing that I didn't really enjoy, especially through the way I did my eBay store, was that the inventory was very messy. I did everything outside my bedroom, which meant that there was items all over the floor, everywhere. And because of that, sometimes items would get lost, which looks very bad on me as the seller. So that was the one thing I didn't really enjoy about selling on eBay, but I learned so much and I made a good bit of money from it. Number 4, I invested. Now, it's practically impossible for a teenager below the age of 18 to invest by themselves. But if you get a parent or guardian to invest on your behalf, it is possible, and that's what I did. As Benjamin Graham stated, investors judge the market price by established standards of value, while speculators base their standards of value upon the market price. Essentially, what I'm telling you is that I lost money on the stock market. Do I regret it? A little bit. But it was a learning experience, and it taught me that I am essentially a speculator. As a teenager, I knew nothing about the stock market and I had no right to think that I could beat the market by trading. Investing is a discipline that needs to be learned and understood, and because I didn't understand it, I lost money. Through this loss, I learned more about investing and moved away from investing purely on stocks and diversified into funds. There are a load of funds to choose from, so I did a lot of research and narrowed it down to the few funds that I still invest in today. The way that I view funds is not a way of making money. I view them as a way to sustain my wealth. What I mean is that I want the fund to perform well enough to offset any economic factors such as inflation. For number 5, it's financial planning. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube make millions of Etsy, Shopify, TikTok, but I wasn't one of those people that struck gold. So it was very important for me to understand my financial position at all points in time because my income was really limited. I was so meticulous about this that I built an elaborate Excel spreadsheet that had multiple VLOOKUPs, graphs, pie charts. I might joke about it now, but it was super helpful. It helped me understand my financial position at any point in time, given the fact that I inputted the information correctly. When I first started out, it was very important to know what my financial situation was because overspending would mean that I was in debt. And overspending is very easy when the amount you have to spend is pretty small. For example, if I knew that I had £300 for the week or for the month, I would make sure that I will plan my spending to not spend more than £300. That way, I felt more free because I planned whatever I needed to spend my money on and made sure that I wouldn't spend more than that amount. Now, I know that doesn't sound great, like if I wanted to go on a holiday, I couldn't do that on £300. It just means that I had to accept the fact that I only had £300 disposable income to spend. But knowing that that is my limit, I could plan accordingly. And that is how I felt free from other stresses of thinking, can I afford this? Can I afford that? I would instantly know, no, you can't afford this. Yes, you can afford that. Also, seeing my cash flow through the Excel was pretty damn nice. It would update graphs, it would be green, it would show my progress over time. You can't do that on a bank statement. So looking at the Excel itself was motivation. It showed that I started somewhere and I was improving over time, and what I was doing actually made a difference. My financial planning made sure that I always had cash. It made sure that I was never in debt, and it allowed me to plan future expenses in the past. Doing so, it gave me full control over my financial position at the time. I understand that financial planning doesn't really directly affect me making $25,000 in profit income. Okay, so I know that financial planning didn't really directly affect how much money I was bringing in, but it helped me maintain the amount of money that actually did come in. It allowed me to view my financial position at any point in time and having the peace of mind of spending money and making sure I wasn't going to go into debt at any point. And that peace of mind is needed whilst you're studying. You don't want that headache while studying. Being well prepared and understanding your financial position at any time was very important to me. And arguably, it allowed me to keep more of my profits. If I was to give my past self one piece of advice, I would tell myself to be more confident in my ability to build multiple streams of income. Because whilst I was doing everything, I did have a sense of imposter syndrome. I just thought that this was just luck, it will fade out one day, and eventually I did stop some of them. So those were my main methods in helping me achieve $25,000 in profit by the time I was 18 whilst studying. Now, I know there was no real get rich scheme in there. It was just pure hard work, pure going out there, trying to see what works and trying to make money off my own skills. And I'm very grateful that my past self went out and did all that, because I wouldn't be who I am today without that experience. Thank you for watching the whole video, and I hope you learned something and I hope you found this video useful. Please comment down below the word hustle so that I know you watched the full video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'll be making more videos as time goes on, and hopefully I will bring you guys even more value. And I hope you guys have a brilliant day.